You are now live. We have
Okay.
moved to the correct feed. I'm going to go behind the scenes and we're going to do a reset. Thank you.
Okay.
Goodbye.
So carry on. Carry on, I shall. Okay, so since we started a new live stream because of technical issues, I am just going to do a quick little recap of what I've done so far. So, Wendy, you asked what color distress inks. I'll tell you that real quick. I've got Rusty Hinge. I've got, y'all now got my readers here. Ripe Persimmon, Scattered Straw, and Dried Marigold. So those are the 4 that I used to make the background. So what I did is I just used my blending brushes, purposely was a little blotchy, and I just made a background that was 4.5 by 6.5 on very thin white cardstock. Then I took this die from our curved edges, and on that piece, I started just moving it up the, I don't know why I pronounce that way, but I just started moving it up the thing until I started getting all these individual stitched sky cloud pieces. And then I just started gluing them back onto a piece that's now the size for my card. So this piece is 4 by 5.25. And you can see that my bigger pieces kind of fill that in. In fact, I'm a little bit long, so I'll need to trim that. And the reason I used lightweight white cardstock for the inking, and then I just used printer paper for the backing, is because I am going to die. I'm going to make a window card. So I want to die cut through this. So why make it hard on myself by making it too thick? You've got overlapping dies right here. So, I'm just trying to keep it pretty thin. All right. So that was die number 1, which was our curved edges. Okay. Done with that one. Now I'm going to go on to work with that Catherine label. So that Catherine label pop-up, such a good generic die set. And it comes with, your mechanism. We haven't got to that yet, but you've also got all of these nested labels in this oval die in it. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut a window in the front of the card, this being the front. And I'm going to use the medium label, which is this one that has these decorative press dots in it. And I'm just going to choose a spot. So I'm going to choose a spot. I don't know. I didn't do any measuring or anything. This is just by eye. There-ish. I want to put some pumpkin pies down here. So, so this north of center, but something like this. Yeah, I like that spot. Okay. I'm going to turn my face off so I can get up and do some die cutting here. Hang on. Okay. So now I just have to run this through, and that'll put the window in the front of my card. Okay. Now that also tends to squish down, all the die cutting that I've already done. So it's less, crisp and noticeable. But what I've found is I can hit that with a little ink afterwards, and it's still going to pick up those edges. So I'm going to take my Rusty Hinge here, and I'm just going to take my blending brush, and I'm just going to go over the front of that piece. And then it's going to pick up those stitch marks and those edges, even though they have been kind of squished down in the process of die cutting my window. Okay, you'll see it kind of come back to life here. Okay, so now you can see all those edges again. I'm also going to do something else, which is I'm going to turn this over and give myself a little ink just on this white side around the label opening. And I'll show you why in just a second. You're going to see just a little bit of edge on the inside when I cut the window into my card. Okay. So I don't need all of it. I just need enough. Basically, you know what I need? I need enough so that this size label, inside this size label, will have some color instead of just having it be, white on the back. All right. And I'm going to keep this piece that came out. So I'm going to hit that with a little ink to highlight those edges as well. Okay. So I'm going to save that for the inside. All right. Let's see what we got here. All right. Let me get my card out. So here's my card. It's just a regular A2 size card. I just used like 80-pound cardstock. For me, it was just about finding the color that I liked, which was this wine color. And I want to cut a window in the front of this card that's going to correspond with this window. So what I want to do is I want to hold that in place where I, have a border that I like. And then I can take a pencil. Thank you, Karen, for having a pencil nearby. And I'm going to trace the label onto the front of the card. Okay, that'll tell me where to do my window. But it's going to be hard to make the window the same size as this, because then I would have to line it up absolutely perfectly. So instead, I'm going to use the next size up. So that's by tracing that on, then I can place this one. That's why I needed that little bit of ink on the back side there. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure that's centered over my pencil lines, and I'm going to glue or tape that down for sure. Let's see. I haven't been watching the comments, but I'll now I'm going to do a little something while I'm doing this. Might as well. I'm going to erase this pencil line. I just was using it to line up the die. And this wine-colored piece that's going to come out is going to make an excellent frame to frame around this window if I put that other die down in it and cut it at the same time. Okay, so put this one in, and that way, in the process of cutting this, I'll get more pieces for my card. And technically, I could have even nested in the next size down as well, because I had planned to make a little greeting block with that smallest label and a white, but I already did it. I did it ahead of time. But that's what I would do if I was making this cards. I'd throw that third one in there too, and then you'd get all the labels that you would need out of this color. So little paper saver, I guess. All right, let's run this through. So I'm making sure I have my card open because, of course, I only want the window on the front of the card. All right, let's pull this off. All right, now I've got that frame, so that's lovely to go on here. Okay, frame out the front of the card, the nice piece like this. And when I glue this over the top and, you know, get my border, again, my entire window, I don't have to worry about any little bits of cardstock in my window because I use the larger die. And then inside, I get that cool inked edge on the inside. So I kind of almost get like a reverse frame sort of for free. Now, this would be the time if you wanted to have a window covering, like if you wanted to put a transparency, you would do that now because you could put that in. I'm not going to put a transparency in mine. I'm just going to have it be an open window for autumn, you know, let the autumn air in. When I put my adhesive on this piece, I want to make sure I'm not putting adhesive right around that opening there, but I can do it around this opening here. So that way I get a nice tight seal, but I haven't got stray adhesive in my window. Okay. So my lineup here is going to be the outside edges. I know we haven't gotten to the pop-up yet, but doing all our fun ahead of time stuff. Kind of got to do this one in a specific order because you need to have the window in place so that you know where to place the pop-up, because we want the label that's going to pop up. We want it to line up with this window in the closed position. Let me do this. Let me put a different color in there so I can see easily to line up this window frame. So that's cut with the same die, so it's going to fit perfectly. I can tell right now that I didn't do the best job of centering my die in this one because I'm skinnier over here than I am over here, but it's close enough. I'm not going to worry too much about that. Okay, so there's my window card. All right, now let's start getting into the interior of the card where our pop-up is going to be. I repeated that process and made another one of those same backgrounds that's the same size that I'm going to put in there first, okay? So just kind of matching the one that I already made. Same exact process. Used my lightweight white cardstock and then just put it on printer paper. This one I wouldn't have to have used something so light, you know, because it's inside and I'm not making a window, but might as well. You know, I just sat there and did them both at the same time, so. Okay. All right, now we're ready for pop-up. So here's what's great about the Catherine label. It's just this single piece that makes the pop-up mechanism. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pencil here and I'm going to just draw in the score lines that the die has made. So the die makes these score lines. I do video tutorials on all assembly videos on all of the pop-up dies. So you can definitely go onto our website, which is just my name, KarenBurniston.com, and then just look up whatever die you're interested in and you'll find that assembly video right there on the page. But what you have here is you have 4 horizontal lines in this tall part, and you have 2 diagonal lines over here. And they are all going to be mountain folds. Okay, so mountain folds means you're folding away from yourself. I often find it easier with die cut score lines to put my thumbnail in and fold towards myself first, even if it's a mountain fold, and then I just reverse it. So is there a printable supply list? You know what? I have done that in the past, but I kind of ran out of time today. I'm also teaching tomorrow, so it's been a kind of a busy week. But you know what? I'll try and get one up. The question was asked in the chat. What about a printable? Oftentimes with these summits, I've done like a little printable sheet for the card, but I haven't even taken a photograph of it yet, y'all. It's flying by the skin of my teeth here. Okay, so here I've worked every single fold as a mountain fold. So I'm going to go ahead and erase my pencil lines. That was really just for the video. Okay. But what you've got here is you've got a triangle that's created by the folds over here. And over here, you've got a box. When you bring that little tapered tab around and connect it, you've got a box. So that's going to be our first step, is going to be to connect that box. So the adhesive in that tapered tab, okay, you can either hold it in place, or I think it's much easier just to get into a flat position where you can give it really good pressure. Okay, so really easy assembly on the Catherine label. That is the mechanism right there. And before I start putting it in the card, something that helps me, let me see, this wine cardstock is so dark, is to put it in this position, get it in this position, and then give myself a reminder that this is the top of the box where I'm going to put the label that pops up. And this is the bottom of the box where I'm going to connect it to the card. And you'll see that that'll make it a little easier when we're over here installing it, because you'll be able to see which one's the bottom and which one's the top. So what you do when you want to install this inside the card is you use adhesive just in this outer triangle right here. Okay. And it is on the front of the front of the piece that gets the adhesive. So here's my adhesive in that triangle. Use something strong, glue, good idea. Okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna flip this over and we're gonna put this long side of the pop-up up next to the fold, but we're actually installing it over here on this left side of the fold. And where it goes is completely up to you. However, we're trying to make something pop up in that window. So I definitely want to have it up here near the top. So I'm just going to come down a little bit. Let's see. I'm going to close my card just a smidge so I can pop that triangle. Should have done it in a, you know what? I was trying to get it to disappear. So that's why I used the same color. But for teaching purposes, it might have been nice if I had done it in a different color. So I apologize. But what you want to see is you want to see this right side. Let me do it this way. Let me back fold it. You want to see that right side of the pop-up just traveling right along the folds of the card. And it's just that triangle right there that's glued down. Okay. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So what's going to happen eventually is that the other side of the pop-up is going to glue over here, but you don't want to just guess where it goes. You want to let the card tell you where it goes. So the way we do that is we've got 2 diagonal folds here. It's the second one. The second one is going to bring that box over here where it's kind of sitting in that window. And now we have to figure out which way do we collapse it. Do we collapse it this way? No, because I don't want to see the top of the box right now. I want to see the bottom of the box. And that's why the B and the T can be really helpful. Okay, so you know which way to collapse your box into the flat position. Okay, so there's the bottom of my box. I'm in the flat position. I'm going to add adhesive to the bottom of the box, and I'm going to close the card. And that's going to move it over here in exactly the right spot to be able to pop that up. And as far as placement goes, what I wanted to see is I wanted to see the top of the box somewhere in my window. Okay, so could it have been down a little bit? Sure. If it was way down here and the top of my box was not in my window, then I wouldn't get the effect I'm looking for. But having it anywhere along here where it can be in the window is what I want. Okay, so here's my adhesive on the bottom of the box. Okay. And then I'm going to close the card. I'm going to pick up that pop-up on the other side. And this is where you have to be a little bit patient. Here, so I can flip this over. You can see the top of the box is right in the window, which is awesome. You know, you have to be a little bit patient, because if you're not, the first time you open it, it'll just pop it off, you know, because you didn't give your glue enough time. What if I just make sure I can get that box down really well before I open it all the way? Okay, so there's my pop-up. In fact, I can even now, if I want to, I can even kind of open it and give it a squish in the open position too. That is essentially the Catherine label. It's just such a simple little pop-up that just pops up something kind of directly up inside the card. Okay, so now let's put our label together for inside. So let's see, what do I want to do? You know what? I probably wanted. I didn't pre-cut it. But I have some more. I have some more of the wine cardstock. That's the one piece I forgot to pre-cut. I kind of want one of those big labels. Just cut one of those real fast. I think I thought I was going to use the one that came out of there, but I needed that one for the frame, so I didn't count right. Then I needed a big label too. So, all right, let me get my big label. All right, so here's my big label. Then I'm going to use that one that came out of the window when I die cut it. Just make good use of that. Do I want a little brown ink on the edges? I might. Okay. Okay, center that in there. All right, now, once again, I don't want to just throw it on there because it might not end up in the right spot to go in the label. I really want it to line up perfectly when the card is closed. So what I want to do is I want to turn that over face down and just lay it in the opening. Okay. Then I add adhesive to the top of my box. Keep this nice and flat. Close the card and it'll pick up that label. In fact, I'll just flip it over while I'm letting that adhesive set up. You can see how nicely it lines up in the closed position. And then when I open it, it's going to pop that label. Oh, see. So I say, be patient with your adhesive. It's all fixable. It's all fine. All right. Let me just go like this and pop that back on. Sometimes I'll sit here. You know what? Often what I'll do is I'll take like a quilting clip or something and I'll just clip the areas of my pop-ups that I'm waiting for the glue to set up and give it a second while I just work on something else. I got a little bit ambitious here I got a little excited. All right, let's try that again. This one's going to go down here. This adhesive is going to go on top of the box. I'm going to close the card, pick up that label. I'm going to give it a second. Open it slowly. Okay, that's working great. All right, while I do that, I'm just going to let that sit up for a second. Okay, so what I want to put on the top of my label is going to be that greeting that I picked out. So I used the Autumn Skies and Pumpkin Pies. So our little photopolymer clear stamps, they stamp really nicely. So I did want to just show you that even though I have my label already done. So my favorite is VersaFine. I love that VersaFine ink. I just think it does such a great job. And but yeah, they stamp beautifully. They really do. And then what I did, because that one was so close to the size of my label that I wanted to cut it out with. You know, I mean, if I was just cutting it with a bigger label, I'd just lay the label over the top. But show you a little trick that I did for this one is I just hinged the label die onto just a piece of scratch paper that was left over. And that way I can move the piece around until I've got my my greeting framed perfectly in that opening. Then I just put it right back in place and run it through. So yeah. And I don't need to do that because I've already done it. So here's my Autumn Skies and Pumpkin Pies. And one of the reasons I didn't want to put a window in my card was, a window frame, you know, in other words, I didn't want to put a clear in the thing, was because I thought it would be cool if this was on Pop Dots. And then it can kind of be the greeting for the outside of the card and the inside of the card, right? So let me just close that up. Center that right there. Okay. So now I got it in both. Yeah, I see what I'm having. I've got my my window just a little. You can see it. See, yeah, I'm just a little bit closer to this side because I just did it by eye than I am to this side. If I was going to be off a little bit, it would have been better to have the shorter side over here because of this label coming down and having to find its closed position against that card, which is probably what pulled that off when I did it earlier. But you saw my fix right there because it's so close. I just bent that point down just a bit, and then it will find that card and it will slide right down into that closed position. Okay, just perfectly. So close is fine, but I can see what I did. When I just did it by eye. So really, you would, if you're going to be a little off, you'd be better off being a little bit further off the fold than closer to the fold. But all fixable. Okay, let's do the front of the card. So here was my thought. My thought was I already assembled it. That border. And I made them all pumpkin pie. So in that border set, that baking border set, I love this set. Especially because with our borders, they're just such cute little iconography, that you can use. You can just chop them up and use them individually. So, do you want a chef's hat border or do you want individual chef's hats maybe to fit some of our animals? So the little rolling pins, all those things. So you've got all these different pie types to go over the top. So you can make a mixed pie border. You've got cherry and pumpkin and apple and some others. Or you've got the different overlays, so you can just choose the one that you want. And so in my case, I wanted them all to be pumpkin pies. So that took a little time because I only got one of those overlaid, you know what I mean? So I had to cut it a few times. So I did it ahead of time, so you didn't have to watch me do it. But good example here. I only need 6 of the pies, but I have 8. So I can make a border of 6 pies. And then I've got 2 to use inside the card as just standalone pies. Okay, so really, really cute border sets. And we have tons of borders. So that's going to go on the front. There's my pumpkin pies. And then getting into those autumn elements, I did already kind of die cut and crinkle and ink those leaves. So the leaves in the autumn elements, they have score lines in them. If you're using a thick enough paper, it'll just push it down in there and then you can see the veining and maybe you just ink over the top. Or I happen to be using pretty lightweight papers. So then what I did is after die cutting, I kind of found the score lines by folding on them and then just inked them over the top. And then it picked up all of that veining. Plus it just looks more like a crinkly leaf, So let's put a couple of these on here. Maybe something like, I'll put some pop dots. Where's my foam tape? That'll keep those leaves a little dimensional too. And I just went to my scrap bin, found some autumn colors for those. Okay, I have not been, those leaves are so realistic. Thank you. I know, I love the autumn elements. I know, it's one of my favorites, the autumn elements die sets. It's just one that I use all the time. Okay, so let's put a leaf like this. And we'll put a leaf maybe like this. Okay, and then we'll do pumpkin pies on the bottom, which is making me hungry. Oh, look how not straight that is. Hang on a second. That's what the beauty of glue, right? You get a second to, and I love that line coat because it dries clear, which is my favorite thing. All right. Then I think we need another leaf up at the top. So get the little oak leaf out of that set, put that up there. It'd be kind of cool if I could tuck it underneath this frame, but I didn't. Oh, maybe I can. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so foam tape. I don't even know how I'm doing on time. Am I doing okay on time? You'll hop in and kick me. I'm almost done. Kick me off if I.
You're doing great on time. You just keep on going.
Okay, cool. Okay, now tuck that in. Okay, happy with that for the front. And then I think for the inside, all right, well, I've got these 2 pies. So one thing that I thought would be good would be to add a pie somewhere on the raising label that would overlap the 2 labels. And here's why. Because I didn't put a window pane in here, right? but this is the exact same size and lined up as this one. So what you wouldn't want is for it to go through the mail and then just almost get stuck together, if that makes sense, because this comes up into the exact opening where it was die cut and, through going through the machines and stuff like that. So if I break that possibility by putting like a pumpkin pie or something, see, it can't close down all the way to where it could trap that label. And it's not like the person couldn't just open the card. They can, but, just in case. So I'm going to put a pumpkin pie up here in this corner. And I want it to be seen through the window. And mainly I want it to cross the seam between the, the two right there. Okay. And I got one more pie. So one thing that's kind of fun is if I add it to this little triangle over here, I will get a little bit of motion to it. So I could just put a little adhesive right here. You have to do a small item here because otherwise it gets kind of a little hung up with the Catherine label, but you can put something small in there, like a little leaf or something like that, an acorn. I'm just going to put a little pie. So I've just attached it to the triangle. Oh, I got to make sure it stays out of the fold. So let me just make sure it does. It does. So, I mean, it would be possible to put it too far down and then have it cross the fold when it came to a close, which you'd have to move it then. But this one is finding a spot just fine. So I like that because it kind of gives you that motion, as it opens. You see motion to that. All right, more leaves, more leaves, more leaves. Okay, I'm going to do a couple leaves attached to the pop-up where they'll lift up like this. Okay, so, this little vine is in the autumn elements as well. So it's got a vine, it's got a pumpkin, it's got 3 types of leaves. Okay, I got to make sure this all stays in the card, so I can't have it be too far off the labels, but they're fine. See? So you got to watch it. Like if I wouldn't want to stick it out here unless you like the idea of it sticking out of the card in the closed position, because it would. But you can put it, if you keep it in line, because it just lifts straight up, so it's not really moving outward. You can do that. So there's that. And then I think one up in this corner. And let's just check it. Yep, that's fine. So you got to be willing to move things. Like if I put it too far this way, it might crash into the card as it closed. If I put it too high, then it might stick out, although I've got plenty of room because it comes down as the card opens. And then we talked about making a little greeting block, where you could sign your greeting. And so I'm going to just put that down here. I kind of like the visual triangle too, of the big label for the opening, then the label that pops up on the pop-up, and then the smaller one for the greeting. So I just think it makes a nice visual triangle. Okay. And then I always like just a little something on that plain white label before I've had a chance to sign it, just because I think it makes the card look kind of cool. So I'm going to put an acorn there. And that is it. That is an A2 size card using that Catherine label. I did put some pop dots on it, but nonetheless, it's nowhere even close to 1/4 of an inch. So for those of you in the States, this should go for a single stamp. Sometimes the rigidity will get you, but this one is not that rigid either. See, it'll go. So single stamp. And yeah, so that's my card. Let me see, let me turn my face back on. Okay, are there any questions? I may have missed some because I was trying to look at the chat while I was going, but it's kind of hard to see the chat. I will, Laurel said that we could kind of promote, and I will only say that if you like the way I do teach every single month. So we do virtual classes and Zoom classes, and you can find out those when you go to KarenBerniston.com and click on the events tab. And one of the reasons that I didn't have a PDF one done for this card yet is because I am teaching tomorrow. Well, tomorrow's a virtual class, so it's pre-recorded, but you might still be able to get kits, and then you can just go back and watch the class day recording. But we'll be making Halloween cards tomorrow. So we've got this one. These are amazing graphic 45 papers. And this one, Sweets for My Creeps. Let's Fang Out. So yeah, that's our class for tomorrow, virtual class. And then in November, we're doing Christmas, and we'll be doing a Zoom class. So I've got those cards here to show you as well. Well, but all of them are store at this point. They're all store exclusives because we sold out on our website of October kits. But we have 5 stores, including one in the Netherlands and one in Australia. I'm not sure for sure that she's making the Halloween kits, the Australia store. But so we do have overseas people as well that make the kits. But anyway, you just buy it from the store. They ship it to you, and then 10 days before class, you get an email from the store where you purchase your kit that has all your prep work. So there's always a die requirement. So you have to have the dies. There's like 4 dies that are required usually each month. And then you just follow that prep work video with me and you get your kit ready. And then on class day, which for this virtual class is tomorrow, it's either a pre-recorded YouTube video or it's a Zoom session. So tomorrow is pre-recorded, but November will be Zoom. So on November, we'll be making a couple cards here. So this one is our cute little Santa in the window there. And it opens like this. And then it's got the pop-up sleigh. Okay, and this one makes like a really nice, it just displays really nicely on the table. So that one's going to be card 1 for November. That one is a Zoom class, but you don't have to be there on Zoom day. It's recorded for the students if you miss it. And then our second card is going to be a light up card. So hope your Christmas sparkles, using our, sorry, it's my camera sometimes decides to just not focus. So this is our circle charm die set, and we're kind of using it differently than the way it was designed. So this is kind of an interesting alternate assembly of it, but we've got like a little dangling charms there, wishing you twinkly lights and cozy lights. And then when you push over here, Pear Blossom Press Twinkle Light will light up in the wreath. Okay, so that's our card 2 for November. So yeah, come take a class. They're fun. You learn all about, you doing your prep work is like some of the best part of it because you're the one doing all that die cutting, and I'm showing you, you're doing it with me. You're just, logging into the video and we just make our kit together and you really, really learn how to use the dies. I think that's one of the best things I can say is, when you're the one, doing that die cutting and learning all of those just special tricks and stuff about the dies. We find that the students, since we've gone to this virtual thing versus like in-person classes where I would like pre-cut everything for everybody, people are making so many more of the cards. Like we see it in our social media and the pop-up peeps that people are remaking these cards because they really understand how they were made. It wasn't just like assembly of pieces that were pre-cut. They cut the pieces. So yeah. Okay. How'd I do?
You did amazing. So when you order these dies, they don't just come like in the package and you're left to wing it, right? They come with, you tell them, because I remember the first time I ordered, I was like, oh my God, now I know how to make these no guessing, no Googling directions.
Well, okay. So the pop-ups especially, they always have some little written instructions on the back, but my joke about this is for when you're crafting in the woods without an internet connection and you need to kind of remember how to put the die together. Your best bet is just to watch the videos. And, it'll say here, go to KarenBernston.com/instructions. You don't even need to do that. You just go on to KarenBernston.com. You put in the search box whatever you bought. You can put that number, 1011. You can put part of the name, Captain. You can put KATH and it'll come up, and right there on the product page is going to be the assembly video for the die. And I do the assembly videos on all of the pop-ups, but then also a lot of our decorator dies as well. So just getting the tips and tricks for putting that Santa together or those borders, actually those baking borders, I think I don't have a video yet. I got a little behind on videos because I moved across the country. All the pop-ups have their videos, but I'm a little bit behind on some of the decorator dies. But yeah, so we are not going to leave you hanging. And then, what I love too is when we do like for October and November, those required dies those months are called what we call like favorites, because if we're in between releases, like we're going to have another release of dies, but it's not going to be until around Thanksgiving. So for October and November, we still want to teach every single month. So I love those months because it's a chance for me to go back and grab dies out of different releases and combine them together in some new way. And that's something that you don't get to do along the way, because they come out at a time and then you're kind of using all the dies from that particular release together. And other than doing our monthly card making with dies videos, there's not, but then when we get to the favorites classes, I love them because we get a chance to mix and match between releases. So Yeah, but yeah, we would love to have you join us for some more classes. And I do do videos too, just videos, card techniques on YouTube. So I'm just at Karen Burniston on YouTube.
There it is. I love it. So I mean, listen, her brain goes far beyond a rocket scientist, in my opinion. The fact that she comes out with all these designs, and I am scared to death of interactive cards and things of that nature. And you don't have to be scared when you use her stuff, because it does it for you.
It does.
I mean, I don't know how your brain works and if it ever shuts off, but don't ever let it shut off, because that's everything.
You could make this card.
I could make that card.
You could absolutely make that card.
I could not. If I didn't have your product, I couldn't. I'd be like, cut here and just measure the
dies. The whole point of the dies is they're going to get you from paper to pop up in like 5 minutes less. You know, how long did it take me to get from paper to pop up? But and then you get to spend your time doing the decorating. So you're not like, oh, you know, let me score here and measure here.
It's actually fun. I mean, I'm not one of those people that likes cutting strips and measuring to the centimeter and all. That's not my jam. Some people like that, but you don't have to do any of that. And then if you just go to her website and you see all of the different creations, it's all paper. It's made with paper.
It's just made with paper. You know, that's one thing we, like I said, we've got these greeting stamps now, because I mean, it's a great chance for me to be able to do some greetings to kind of coordinate with our dies. We do word dies as well, but obviously I couldn't do this greeting, autumn skies and pumpkin pies in a die set. You know, it wouldn't fit anyway. So we've got these greeting stamps, but for the most part, I mean, all of our cards are just made with dies. Like we just, you know, which is not to say we don't play well with others. I mean, you could take all your image stamps and use that Catherine label, and you can just imagine the scenes that you can create on it. But what we're trying to show people is that you don't have to necessarily, you can be, but you don't have to be like a person that likes to stamp in color. You know, you can make these images with dies, and so we're more like, you know, like piecing colors together and making all of our little animals and decorator pieces and stuff out of dies. And it's just a different look, you know, so.
You can change it up and change your colors and change your paper and use different ink. That's just amazing. I don't know how you do what you do, but I'm sure grateful you do it.
Well, thank you. We sure appreciate you having us on.
Listen, and she's giving, usually, you know, sponsors kind of only give discount codes to the paid ticket holders, but they are offering it something different to free ticket holders as well. I popped it up on the screen, but I took it down because it was just getting in the way of looking at y'all. But it's code here. I'm going to pop it up one more time. Pop up 15. And she gives you a few days to use it. So she's not one of those people who's like, you have 30 minutes to use it and it's gone. So we just love this. We love this so much. So be sure to use that, KarenBurniston.com. And yeah, you rock. And listen, not everybody could have moved with that tech gremlin transition, but Karen did it, man. She powered through it. I don't know what happened, but sorry about that. But grateful.
No worries.
Grateful for all of y'all. Grateful for all of y'all. Okay, next up is 1 o'clock. We have another live Q&A tomorrow. We have a live lunch and learn with Riley and company. And also there's a lot going on apparently online with Karen too. So check it all out. Check out our website. I'm sure it's all there. And thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.